guys, it's Jackie with Intoxicating Arts, and today we're going to be making a Valentine's Day card using this super cute stamp set called Dreamboat by Avery Elle. And this new stamp set is pretty awesome. It has this cute little couple in the gondola, some bricks for the background, a window, and then that circle with the squiggles under it is so you can build a little scene, put the boat right in there, and you have the water coming down. And today I'm going to be doing some watercoloring on this cardstock, which is 140-pound cardstock by Artist Loft. And I'll be stamping my image using Memento Tuxedo Black ink. And you'll see here, I'm kind of looking at it and wondering why it looks weird. It kind of almost looked like it was beading up on the stamp, which is odd because this is a photopolymer stamp and I never have problems with those with this particular ink. So I just off-stamped it a couple times, and then once it looked the way that I wanted it to, I knew it would be okay. So I'm not sure if it was just the way I was inking it up or what was going on, but once I got it to stamp the way I wanted it to, I will move on and stamp it onto the card front. And I do have this taped down on my work surface using some 3M painter's tape because I want to make sure it's not going to warp too much, and I'll be doing the watercoloring, which can kind of warp your paper a little bit. And then I'll be trimming it down actually because the watercolor is going to go right to the edge of the paper. So now that I have them stamped, the watercoloring that I'm doing is going to be with two different types of markers. I'm going to be using the Tim Holtz Distress watercolor markers and the Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers, and I only have the 12-pack of the Zig markers, and then I have some random packs of the Tim Holtz Distress markers. And there is a cute little wave stamp here that I luckily got in my demo set, so I'm going to stamp a couple of those on here. And just a little heads up, anytime you're stamping an element like this, if you're like me, you have the tendency to overstamp it. So anytime you think you might need to do just one or two more, just stop for a second and then look at it, and most of the time you really don't need to. Because when I was doing this and I had the 3 on there, I was thinking I should do one more, and then I bet you anything if I did one more, I'd want an odd number and I'd do another one, and then it would just be an excessive amount of waves. So I'm glad I stopped where I did. And I will be heat setting this ink. It's not an ink that has to be heat set. You could just set it aside and let it dry, but I heat set it because I want to make sure that I'm not going to have any bleeding going on when I'm watercoloring, because that can definitely happen, and then obviously your image is not going to be as great as it could have been. So those are the markers I have. That's all the distress markers I have. There's a ton of them out there. I think there's probably over 60 or 70 colors that have been released by now, and there's a new one coming out every month. I don't know if that's going to follow or flow over to 2016, but that would be really cool. For their skin, I am using the antique linen color, and that seems to work pretty well for skin. It's kind of a skin type color, so why not? And I just go along the outside edges of wherever I'm going to be putting that color, because I pull the color in using a water brush marker. And that just works really well for me because I'm a complete novice at watercoloring, or just basically any kind of coloring besides maybe crayons. So I like to just go along the edges. For her hair, I'm using the color Vintage Photo, and I wanted his hair to be a different color, so I pulled my brown out of the Zig markers, and this is kind of more of a I'm just showing right there real quick that it does have a brush tip, which is something to keep in mind. Like, you need to be a little bit light-handed with those, where the distress markers, it's a nice stiff tip. But anyways, about his hair, it's kind of more of a red orangey brown, and hers is more of like a dark brown. So I just wanted them to have different hair colors, so that's why I went over to that marker. But again, with those markers, with the different tips on them, it's just kind of remembering how to use each one, how much pressure you need to use. And I like both of them for different reasons. I think that they both blend out pretty well. I feel like a lot more color comes out of the zig markers with less effort than with the distress markers. Some of my distress markers are also kind of drying out because I've had them for so long and I don't use them a whole lot. I've been using them more lately since I've had images that I actually need to be coloring in. For the guy, he has like these little stripes on his shirt, and he also has a hat that has like a little band around it. So for him, I'm going to be doing black and blue stripes. For her, I'm doing purple and a light blue on her little skirt there. And those are, so most of this is done using the zig markers, but it actually is nice to have the mixture and have markers that are both water-based and interchangeable that way, because you can mix and match and you have different color palettes to choose from. So just gonna add some color to her little bow up there that I forgot about. Decided to make it just match her shirt. And then, so this is where I get to explain something to you guys. I zoomed in my camera, which I should have had zoomed in this whole time, but I had no idea. This was originally a live stream, and I thought it was going awesomely well until I found out that I totally messed up my audio, and so I'm now doing a voiceover on this for you guys. For some reason, my camera actually lets me zoom in a lot more on a live stream than if I'm recording, which is a mystery to me. I have no idea why, but I like it. I like that it will zoom in quite a bit. And then, yeah, it's just sad because I really enjoy doing the live stream, and I messed up the audio because I had my, like, the screen you're actually supposed to have open, like, so you can see what's going on, and I had an additional screen open as if like the screen you guys would have open if you were watching it. So it had this horrible echo where you literally, you would have not wanted to watch it because it was just so bad. So whoever was watching it must have muted it because it was terrible. But anyways, I plan on doing more in the future, so if that's something you'd be interested in, definitely let me know, and I can actually like schedule something like that so I can tell you guys when I would be doing a live stream. And right here I am just doing the watercolor blending. I also noticed that it seems to be easier to blend the colors sooner, like sooner from whenever you apply it to the paper, instead of waiting and coloring and everything and then going back with the water brush. It worked okay, but it just took me a little bit more effort, a little bit more scrubbing around, I guess you could say, to get the water and the colors to move around. So just blending him out here. I did forget to do his pants, so I will go back in and color in his pants. So now his pants are colored magically. So this is a little technique that I just kind of made up here. I wanted the boat to kind of look like it has a wood grain. So I'm just flicking in some brown color, and then I'm going to take another brown marker and flick in some brown color. And then I'll get the water brush and just move the color around. And this kind of worked. I mean, I like how it looks in the end. It doesn't really look like a wood grain per se, but it looks like it's had some use. It looks a little maybe more rustic or a little more romantic. So I like how it came out. I could definitely see myself using that same technique again. So that's just something to keep in mind. If you ever want to try something out, don't be scared to do it. Just do it, because you never know. It might come out looking pretty cool. So now, see, I think that canoe looks awesome. All right, so I'm just going to lay down some water here because I'm going to do the water with some distress ink straight from the pad, but I just smush it onto my acrylic block, and that's how you can watercolor with your distress inks, which is awesome. You don't necessarily need to go buy the markers if you don't want to. And then I'm just filling that in until I have no ink left on my little acrylic block over here. And that just gives me a pretty nice even coverage of water. And I use the color Salty Ocean to do that. And right here is where I royally messed up, because I got like a smudge of something and then I tried to fix it and I made the smudge so much worse than it was. So I will be fixing that in the way that crafters do best, which is embellishing it. So you'll see what I do. It actually ended up being pretty cool because I like the way it came out because I was forced to embellish. So you'll see that in a second here. I'm just drying everything off real quick. And then I'll be stamping the sentiment, which is That's Amore, with some black Versamagic ink. And that's a pigment ink. I like using pigment ink for sentiments whenever I can actually remember, because the pigment ink sets on top of the paper instead of soaking in. So I feel like it gives you a more deep, rich color than using a pigment ink. So this is where I got lucky. I found these sequins in my stash. There's some Teresa Collins sequins. Had no idea I had these. I think I bought them for a different sequin in the pack. And it happened to have these awesome hot pink iridescent hearts in here. And it just happened to be just big enough to cover up my huge, whatever it's called, my huge thing that was right there. Smudge, that's what it's called, huge smudge. And so I decided to put one in between them because I thought that would just be adorable, and then I put some just randomly around the rest of the card. And then I made myself stop because I was going to add more, and I made myself stop because it drives me nuts that there's not one in between the two on that left side, but that's probably just how it just needs to be random. So I'm going to pull my tape off of here. I love using this tape because it doesn't mess up your paper if you tear it off carefully. And then I'm going to trim off just the excess there so that the water can run off the edge of the card. And this is almost done at this point. I just need to pop it onto some kind of pattern paper. So right there I was showing you, that was my bear card that I recently did, and that's going to be the video before this one. And I've been pulling Lawn Fawn paper for my backgrounds quite a bit lately. And the one that you see there, the red hearts, is from Let's Polka in the Dark. And luckily, in the Let's Polka Me, I don't know if I'm saying that right, Let's Polka Mon Ami set, they have these light pink hearts. So that worked out perfectly. I'm just going to cut that down, and I'm going to end up just making that pattern paper my card base. It's just easier that way. And so it's going to end up being 10 inches long, which I am going to score at 5 inches so I can have no, 5.5. I did a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch card in the end. And then I can just pop that right on there, use my ATG gun, and I am done. So I had so much fun making this card, and it was on a live stream. It was really fun. So I think I'm going to do some more live streams. I didn't even have an idea in my head when I made this card or the little bear card. I just pulled the stamps out and went with it, and it was so much fun. All of the all of the Avery Elle products are buy one, get one 35% off, which is basically 17.5% off. So I'll put links below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!